Good morning. I'm Rosemary DeTrolio, owner of Hands of Light by Rosemary, located in New Jersey. And I'm here with Rita Desnoyers Garcia, owner of Becoming Awake, also in New Jersey. And my wonderful friend here I met on Alignable, and we bonded, and she's awesome, and I want you to meet her. So today I'll be interviewing Rita. So welcome, Rita.
Thank you, Rosemary. I am honored that you invited me.
Oh, of course. So I'm excited for you to tell people about your business. I know that you do something really unique for mothers and for women in situations raising kids. And I want you to talk about how your business inspired you, like what inspired you to create your business, and how you assist with your women that you work with.
Okay. So, like many of us in the healing world, coaching world, our ideal client is someone who is just like us. So I work with stressed out professional moms who really just want to have harmony in their home, and they want to be able to grow their business or have their job or career or their passion, but they really struggle with trying to control everything and trying to please everyone. And that was basically me in 2008, 2007, when I had three little ones. When we started out, it was like, they were 4 and under. So I had like a little nursery school, like,
oh my gosh.
at home. So, so I was doing that, and it didn't feel like it was enough for me. Like, I loved being a mother, but I also had this yearning to have something that was completely my own, that I could grow. And so I started a health and wellness business. I was selling basically essential oils that I really loved and believed in. And to do that, I signed up for a marketing program that was just for people in that industry, the network marketing.
Right.
And so I took class, and I would take class at night on the phone while nursing my child. And I would literally top them off, put them on the bed, keep listening. I was very dedicated. And during the day, I would do these calls where I was calling either people who may be interested also in the course, or people who are potentially going to be buying my products. And I have to say, I don't know if I can swear on your show or not, but it was a bit of a show, if you know what I mean. It was kind of chaotic because I was trying to, care for these little ones while I was growing a business. I didn't really have any help because my mom had 6 kids and she didn't need any help. So there you go.
Boy.
And she probably had a lot more help than I noticed, but she just seemed like the Olympian mother, just got it all done. And so I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off. It was constant, no breaks, constantly attending, putting out fires. I remember trying to close a client with a toddler on my knee. Not easy. I started having a chronic cough, which doesn't really help when you're trying to sell health and wellness products. When you don't sound well yourself, it's not helpful.
Right. Yeah.
So I was really just trying. My method of doing things was, if it's not working, just do it more and harder. Just put your nose to the grindstone, just keep going. And because that had gotten me really far. And I remember at one point my husband said to me, "Are you having a good time with this?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm totally having a good time. Can't you see how good a time I'm having?" It was so obvious that I was not having a good time. So there was this meeting that we had with some of the people from the marketing group. And on the call, the guy said, "Look, this is kind of like your last chance. So if you don't start closing people," which I wasn't, "then we're going to withdraw all the leads we're giving you." And it was like a group meeting. It was sort of what he called a come to Jesus moment. Like, either you're going to do it or not. And I remember it hit me really hard, and I put the phone on mute and I started crying. And I started crying because I thought, if I fail at this, then I'm a complete failure. You know, I never get it right. This is so typical of me. All of those thoughts, these condemning, critical thoughts. And I just felt like I wasn't enough. It's just not enough. I'm not doing enough. I don't have enough time. I'm not a good enough mother. I'm not a good enough saleswoman or businesswoman, not a great wife. And I just started sobbing. And then after a while, I noticed my kids were crying because, you know, not just because I was crying, but because they were like, mommy, 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 you know, wasn't paying attention. So then, of course, well, I'm screwing this up too.
Yeah.
And so that day we kind of spent the day crying, you know, and recovering. And then, of course, I went right into solution mode. I have to find a solution. So I decided I was going to hire a coach to help me close more clients. That was still where I was focused. If I could get this business up, then life would be great. I could be the hero of my family. And so I hired a coach. And one of the first things he said to me was, Rita, right now, can you just be kind and gentle with yourself? And my mind went in two different directions. One was, what the heck are you talking about? Like, this is not on the menu or the agenda. We are not kind to ourselves. We just work harder. Like, what's the point of that? And then the other part was, just do what he says. You know, you're a good student. Just give it a try. So I gave it a try. And for that minute or two, I wasn't a terrible person. I wasn't a failure. I wasn't not enough. I wasn't not enough. I was just being kind and gentle with myself. Right. And that was revelatory. And of course, I started crying again. It seems like that seems to be the theme. I do a lot of crying. And I realized in that moment, this is something different and new. It felt like, have you ever had those moments where you're like, this is a turning point? Like there's something big going on here.
Sure.
And so I worked with him for 4 years with this coach. And I took a step back from my business, which I did not want to do. But he assured me I'm not quitting anything. I'm just taking a step back. And I started taking care of myself. I started meditating. I started working out. I hired an au pair to help with the kids.
Wonderful.
And even the au pair was noticing things that I didn't notice. Like she'd say, Rita, I see your schedule. There's no lunchtime on your schedule. I never gave myself a lunchtime.
Yes. I've been
So
doing
I just,
that.
yeah. And I thought I need a 20-year-old to point that out to me that I don't take lunch, you know? So I had a lot of humbling moments in that time, but I think having some consistent childcare, taking care of myself, having that support of a coach really changed my life. And for a good couple months, I was a little afraid that I would never be able to see my kids because I only wanted to take care of myself. Like I was just like, do I have to leave the gym to go home? You know?
Yeah.
Because I was so starved of that it was like my body was like, no, stay here longer, stay here longer, stay here longer. But then finally I did go home and I was a better mom. I was more present with them because I had taken care of myself. And in that process, I realized that compassion, being kind and gentle with yourself, giving yourself the time. And I did a lot of journaling work. I realized that this self-compassion thing, if you don't have it, you're going to have a hard time making any lasting change in your life.
Yes, that's absolutely true. It brings back so many memories for me. I was a single parent for about 9 years before I remarried. And I remember working full time, training a new teacher, working with, a new person, doing my plans, coming home, trying to start my business and taking care of a little boy, which I dearly love to be with, but I was exhausted, And I remember getting really sick because at one point your body will stop you if you don't get the message. So like you were saying with the exhaustion and stuff, I went through that. I had like a kick up of chronic fatigue and I felt ill. And then, the light bulb goes on. I have to take care of myself. And that's where you make that huge shift.
Yep.
It's really something when you give yourself that space, how things can move and
Yep.
open, and all of a sudden, like the light shines in where you couldn't see clear. So it's
Yep.
an amazing story that you used your personal experience to really understand and understand the women that come to you. Because I think if you haven't been through some of this yourself, you can tell somebody something, but
Yeah.
unless you've walked in it, it's really hard to give them the right information from a point of knowing like you have done. So
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things I really try to bring into the work is, hey, I've been through what you've been through. Maybe not exactly the way you've been through it, but I've been through these emotions, or I've been through that tough time, or I've been through that. How do you make a decision when there's an internal conflict or whatever it is? And this is what worked for me. That's a lot of the conversation is, I have full disclosure, and sometimes I spot it because I got it. My coach used to say this to me all the time. If I say, it sounds like that you've got some perfectionism going. And by the way, I spot that because I've also got it.
That's right.
Right. So, I was going to say something else about my coach. I can't remember, but yes, one of the things that used to happen to me was I get sick fairly often, right? And I remember my coach saying to me, what's the function of you getting sick? Like, what do you really get out of it?
A day off.
A day off. And I said,
Day
well,
off.
it's the one legitimate way I can take a break. And he said, if that's the way you're thinking, then you're going to get sick pretty often. So do you want to keep getting sick? And I'm like, no, I'm kind of done with this. And he's just like, then you need to come up with other legitimate ways for you to take a break and get rest besides getting sick.
I love that. And it's so simple, but it just like, sometimes we just don't get that. I remember, my mother was a do-it-all person and everything was always done. And I took that upon myself. I have to do this, I have to do that. And, you have to live through it, I guess, to understand that there's better ways to do things. But we often pattern what we were raised like, I guess.
Absolutely. I still say things that my mom said, and now I know why she said them. Like my kids kind of make fun of me because I'll be sitting at dinner and I'll be like, oh, this is so delicious, Rita, And my mom used to do that. She would say, Ruth, these green beans are out of this world. And we would be like, what are you doing? And she's like, if I'm not hearing it from others, I'm going to say it to myself. It's sort of tongue in cheek that I do it, but I'll say, oh, this salmon, I have never eaten such salmon before,
Isn't that true? It's too funny. So at this point, coming out of this, what do your children continue to teach you?
Oh my gosh, every day there's a lesson. I think one of the things that they teach me is that I'm not here to make them happy.
That's a good one.
Or to rescue them from their emotions.
That's awesome, because I think that hits the nail on the head for just about every parent on earth, honestly. And I know we've all been through that. You feel I used to feel guilty, like, oh my goodness, my son's upset. What do I do? Or he's having trouble. What do I do? And you go in that mode, even when they're adults. Like my son's an adult, and sometimes I'll catch myself in that like rescue mode again. And it's a thing, it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and we kind of fool ourselves too, because so many times they'll be like, how you doing, hon? How you feeling? And okay, it's okay, and I think sometimes I realize that they say it's okay because they don't want to hear like the solution.
Yes, the fix it.
And I'm like, I totally get that. If someone was trying to constantly fix what I was feeling, I'd be like, leave me alone, So I've tried over the years to say, just go like, oh, okay, you're feeling that way, and not do anything about it. Not like, well, maybe you should take a walk, or maybe you should eat a carrot, or maybe you should, like, oh yeah, I've felt that too. Yeah.
Yes. I think it's really hard for parents too, when they make the transition from their kids from high school going off on their own. I know in my mind I had to make a shift when my son was leaving for college. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Because he went to school in New York City. And I wanted him to be really independent because I raised him as a single parent till he was about 9. And I knew we were really close. And I was afraid that he wouldn't develop that autonomy of self. So I said, good, go away to college, live away, like learn how to be totally independent, because I was really afraid that I would overshadow him. And he is extremely independent as an adult, and it's wonderful to see. But again, I had to make that mind shift of just
Yeah.
know I'm putting him in a bubble of light and he's safe. And I've done him I've raised him the best I could. And he was very open to like call me and if he needed anything, but he was so independent. And I think that's really, really a hard step for a lot of parents, especially if you raise your children for many years alone or you're very close to them. As
Yeah.
I was. So what would you tell people that are in that position with their kids ready to be adults, but we're kind of holding on to that childhood? What do you coach your
If the
parents?
child is holding on to the childhood or the
No, if the
parent?
mother is, if the mother
Okay.
is as a parent.
I would first say have a lot of compassion for yourself.
Yeah.
Have a
Okay.
lot of compassion. It may be messy. It's not going to be perfect. You may go into old ways. That's okay. Because, mastery goes like this. It goes, you're this, and then you go up, and then you go like this, like
Yeah.
it's not like this. You're going to maybe even go back. You're going to do the tango. You're going to go back and
Hey.
forward and right. So giving yourself kudos when you're able to do it in a way that feels better to you and know that you may slip back and that's okay.
Mhm.
And that, the other thing is apologies go really far. So if you feel like, you really want your kid to be independent, but then you're texting a lot, like, how are you? Are you okay? Blah, 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 blah. And you go, oh, I can't believe that. Compassion. And
Mhm.
then you can always go, I'm sorry. I'm just worried. I'm
Mhm.
sure you're fine. I trust you. I love you.
Yeah, that's really good advice.
That's not you, it's me.
Yes, I remember at one point, my son was going through something or other, and he wanted to make a change either in his room at college or something. And I just said to him, I trust that you could make a great decision for yourself. Just listen to your inner voice.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. And then I'm like this.
Like, I hope that inner voice has
Yeah, like,
sense.
oh, his inner voice
Right.
is talking up. But
Right.
he did, and he made changes even in his master's program without consulting me, which I thought was awesome because he just thought it through and said, you know what, I
Yeah.
have to make a change. So that's when I really knew, like, okay, he's grown up, he's a man. He made that shift for himself,
Yeah.
and that was very freeing for me to know that he'd be okay.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I would say start early. So,
Mhm.
before you're kissing them goodbye at college, maybe
Absolutely.
when they're 15, 16, 17, 18, you're, like my 16-year-old didn't like her schedule. And so she just went and changed it.
Right.
She went to the guy and I asked her about it and I was like, oh, that sounds great. You happy with that? Yes, I am.
Hmm.
To me, that's like,
That's
she
independence.
didn't expect me to do anything. She
Hmm.
made she was in at school the other day and she accidentally left her cell phone in a classroom.
Hmm.
And I had texted her about something and then she got back. She was just like, oh, sorry, I didn't text you back. I just went through what did she say? Not a kerfuffle, but she's
Yeah.
like, I just had a little damage control,
Yeah.
but she figured it out, and I was like, well, good for you. That's adulting. What you just
Yes.
did. You made a
Yes.
mistake. You left your things behind, but guess what? You figured out how to get in the classroom. You talked to the custodian. You got your phone back. This is
Mhm.
life.
That's right.
Mistakes will be made. As long as you clean it up,
Love it.
you know,
That's
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 it.
good advice.
That's the secret of being an
Yes, that's
adult.
the secret. A lot of adults need that secret too, I think.
Right.
So you would say that most of your clients seem to be women. Is that true?
Yeah. The vast majority are women. Yeah.
Okay. And I would imagine they all are in the process of parenting. Like, what are they mostly with younger kids or teens, or is it a mix?
It's a bit of a mix. Right now, I have a lot of parents with school age children.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had clients who had kids that they were launching or kids who were
Yes.
adults. But mostly what I'm seeing is people who are juggling a lot of things. You
Mhm.
know, women, maybe they're not even mothers, but they're juggling taking care of their parent and their career, or they're juggling trying to birth two businesses at once, or in that bridging stage. So they're just spinning a lot of plates, and that's
Yes.
where things start clashing, because the old strategies are
Mhm.
breaking down. They're
Oh,
just not
yes.
working anymore.
That's true. It's true. I've been seeing a lot of people going through different upheavals recently as well, because I find now people have to work in a different way. It's more intuitive and less making that list. And I think that the lists don't always serve people because they're so regimented that they can't make that quick shift they need to do to get into what's right for them or what feels
Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
they'll ignore their body, and they'll ignore the clues that they're getting because it doesn't fit in that list. And I think that's
Yes.
what I'm finding with a lot of clients that I've had to work with recently.
Yeah.
Uh,
And one of the things I've been learning more recently through psychologically is that the mind will pair
mm,
old way of doing with safety,
yes,
right? Even when the old way is making you miserable,
that's right.
your
Because it's
mind will go,
comfortable.
but we'll keep doing it because it's
Yes,
known and
yes,
we've survived, right? We got
yes.
here. And so when you start doing something new, it's almost like the mind's like, wait, there's something wrong here. Maybe this is not the right, or it feels awkward, or
Yeah,
it wasn't perfect, and so it wants to go to that old way a lot. And
yeah.
so the work is in whatever way you can to remind yourself. My friend says, just tattoo it to the inside of your eyelids. Whatever you need to do to remember
Yes.
is, okay, let's do the new one. Let's do the new one.
Uh-huh.
Let's keep doing that until that
New
becomes
pattern.
the
I
new pattern. And that's the hardest part, I think, for people is,
think you're right. Yeah, yeah, I've seen that. And I think I've heard so many people say, oh, it's the devil you know. It's like, I don't want to know that devil. I want to try something different. It's like,
right.
that's not an answer, you know? It's like, let's keep doing the same dumb thing and getting the same dumb result.
Right. But
Like,
that isn't that a Einstein
yes,
thing? That's a sign of
Einstein.
insanity. Yeah.
Yes.
So one of the things, are you familiar with Don Miguel Ruiz, the Four
Yes, I am.
Agreements?
The
Okay.
agreements. Yeah.
So one of his proteges was this guy named Ray Dodd, who wrote The Power of Belief.
Mhm.
And he talks about the island of the unknown and the island of the
Yes.
unknown,
Yeah.
and that we are so, we think they're safe, right? Just
Right.
stay on the island of the known. We're not going to go anywhere
Mhm.
else. No
Mhm.
matter how miserable we are, no matter how dysfunctional it is,
Mhm.
it's known, right? So that's the devil we know, right?
That's right.
And then, but the courage and compassion and strength that you need to go to the unknown is where it's going out of our comfort zone.
Mhm.
It's the unknown. That's the biggest fear we have, is the fear of the unknown. That's why people fear death. It's unknown. We don't know what's
Right.
going on. So
Yeah.
there is that. And the thing is, as we grow, we have to go into the unknown or else we can't survive. So
Mhm.
one of the things I try to remind my clients is that you've already done a lot of unknown things. If
Mhm.
you had a baby, you went into the unknown.
That's right.
If you can ride a bicycle, you've gone into the unknown. If you went through school, you've gone through the unknown.
Absolutely. If you wake up the next morning, that day is not set. You don't know what's going to happen. You think you do,
Yeah,
but you don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. But we've rationalized it to fit into our pattern. So the idea
Absolutely.
is, looking outside the pattern.
Yes, I love that. I know that your book, Self-Compassion, is awesome. I've read it and I passed it on to one of my clients who totally loved it as
Thank you.
well. And it was a really helpful resource. So I want you to talk about that workbook and how it's assisted your clients.
So it's right back
Yep,
here. You
see
see
it.
there. I have two copies.
Mhm.
So the Self-Compassion Project came out of a course that I was teaching called the Compassion Course.
Mhm.
And it was based on that first conversation I had with the coach about being kind and gentle with yourself.
Mhm.
Um, it's got a lot of different, techniques and strategies in there, but one of the main ones that I talk about is, I guess what the Buddhists would call sitting down with yourself and having a cup of tea.
Mhm.
It's exploring the different aspects of your personality. We could call them archetypes, the queen, the devil,
Right, right.
the rascal, or whatever you want to call
Sure.
it. But it's about journaling down what's going on with you with no holds barred, as petty as you need to be. So you get a clear, honest picture of what's going on in the old noggin. And then looking at that as if you're the most compassionate person in the world, and you're presented with this, maybe a little child or part of yourself that's coming out. And then what would you have? What conversation would you have? It wouldn't be like, you're so stupid. It would be like, I'm so sorry, honey, you're suffering. And then through that dialogue and asking what you need, you start to realize and understand, you start to realize that these are just aspects of yourself that have come up because of various wounds and history.
Yes.
And they're looking for healing. They're looking for compassion. They're looking for understanding and love. And when you're able to give it to them, then you're able to be in a different state of consciousness to take the next step. You're not coming from a wounded place. You're coming from a more healed place. And that's all for just saying, I'm so sorry you're suffering. What do you need right now? Which is really the essence of self-compassion.
It's amazing how these early wounds that we hold, and no matter what we've been through, everybody has, you don't come out of life unscathed. There's always something. It does affect how you decide and what you do. And, I know when I do the Reiki, the level 2 with my clients, I teach them to go back into their childhood and we heal a past, we send our healing back in time to that child. And it's amazing how people will just cry because all of a sudden they realize, oh my gosh, I've been so mean to myself.
Yes.
I've been so cruel.
Yes.
I've been like beating myself up. And you don't even realize it because it's something you don't normally look at. So I agree that that's a wonderful healing way to work with yourself.
Well, also, someone compared it to me as you're in a bar and the lights are low and you're having a great time and you're talking to all these people. And then the bar at 3 a.m, the bartender goes, okay, time to leave. We're going to turn all the lights on. And you realize you've been sitting on this really grody chair and the bar is all messed up and your date does not look so good. And by the way, you don't look so good. And you realize what you've been sitting in all night without knowing until the light comes on. And there's that moment of like, what the heck am I doing here? This is a disaster. And it's how mean have I been to myself, right? And, Ray Dodd or Don Miguel would say something like, this is where the love comes in. This is where you have to really love yourself and say, okay, time for something different.
I'm going to ask you how your humor has helped through your life with getting through situations that were very intolerable or upsetting to you. And, share whatever you want to share about that, because that's another aspect of you that I love.
Oh, thank you, Rosemary. Well, humor is a big thing from my family of origin. Everyone was very funny, and there was a lot of status and clout that came from being funny. So, and I just remember when I was 3 years old at the dinner table, and I don't know what I said, but people started laughing. And I thought, oh, I like this. This is good. It felt very powerful that I could have an effect like that on people. And so, I think it helps. I mean, to me, laughter is very healing. It helps to break up the tension. It helps you to look at things from different angles. It kind of helps you be humble in a way, like when you hear a comedian speak truth through the comedy and you're just like, oh, that's me. Oh, I'm one of those people. Or, yeah, my group kind of does that. Or, yeah, we can be kind of annoying or whatever it is. It allows you to be more truthful with yourself and a little more humbling. In terms of parenthood, I would say it reminds me that every parent has that I love Lucy moment where you're in the chocolate factory. And I don't know, I know a lot of people maybe are younger and don't remember this, but this was riveted in my mind, was Lucy and Ethel in the chocolate factory trying to get a job, and the chocolate keeps coming down the conveyor belt and they can't handle the pace of it. And they start eating it and they're throwing it down their shirt. Every mom for sure has at that moment where things are just out of control and they're doing whatever they can, to cope with it. And it's ridiculous. And we just
You do
And
it.
so we can, instead of condemning ourselves, we can go, it was a ridiculous day. It was a redonkulous day.
Uh-huh.
It's like Lucy
Yes.
Ricardo,
Yes.
and that has certainly helped when I have those moments. And that's what a lot of my comedy is, the sort of ridiculousness of parenthood and what moms experience and the crazy ideas we have or the situations.
Mhm.
That's where the humor is. In
Mhm.
terms of helping me out in the hardest of times, sometimes it takes a little
Mhm.
space and time to laugh at those moments,
Yeah.
but I've definitely had, like when my mom died, I remember we were driving in the car towards, and I was felt very connected to her after she died, like almost more connected than when she was alive because she had dementia.
Oh,
And we're driving to the funeral through some part of New Jersey. I think it was Piscataway or something like that. And there was this big billboard, and I can't even remember who was on the billboard, but it made me crack up. And I definitely felt like it was my mom going,
yeah. Yeah.
and I just started laughing and I was like, oh my God, mom, really?
Yeah.
And I remember after the funeral and everything, um, feeling much more like I wanted to laugh, like that part came
Mhm.
out of me. And
Mhm.
remembering the old
Times.
memories and
Yeah.
momisms and stuff like that, and seeing people I hadn't seen in 30 years and laughing with them about the old times.
Yes.
So I think you can have both.
I think
think you
so.
can have the laughing that becomes crying, the crying that becomes laughing, or if you see something really funny that you're laughing so hard that you're crying. You can,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
all can
It's
be
so
there.
connected. Yes.
Yeah. And that's what I think when we're open to that, we don't see it as, oh, I can't believe you're laughing right now. It's just like,
Yes.
it's
It
just
becomes part of
releasing
you. Yeah. That's wonderful.
tension.
So how can people find you, Rita, if they want to either book a service or, speak to you or find out what you do?
Okay.
Like,
So definitely my website, becomingawake.com. So that has my events on it. It's got my, my services, my coaching, different packages, but it also has upcoming events. I do a lot of free workshops to kind of introduce concepts to people. And then of course, if they really love it, there's
mm-hmm.
usually a course that I offer at the end of it if they want to continue the work. Um, those are a great place to go. I'm also on Facebook. I have a Facebook group for women called Calm Mom Alliance.
Love
So,
that.
you can just
Okay.
join that, and I'm in there doing various things. I'm also on YouTube. I have a small but growing channel called
Mhm,
Becoming Awake, and
mhm.
it has instructional videos. It's got a lot of interviews
Mhm.
with different, including you, Rosemary.
I
You're
know.
on there.
Thank you.
A lot of great practitioners or people who are experts who work with stressed out professional moms, but in different capacities. So if you're
Mhm,
like, oh, I need an accountant. Oh, I need
mhm.
help with my hormones, oh, I need help with my anxiety. I have different people that I've interviewed. Um, so I have that channel is for that. And then every Friday I do some sort of exercise, like something to help calm you down, either a meditation or a technique, and all of those go up on YouTube. So you can look at those, and then if you want to join the group, and then you could have access to them live. So those are,
Wonderful.
I think, the main ways.
Wonderful. I hope a lot of people reach out to you, Rita. And thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for your time today and
Thank you,
your
Rosemary.
your presence in the world. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me just turn the recorder off.